Africa. Here's a pattern we know all too well. Every time Africa builds something world class, something sovereign, something that breaks dependency, suddenly a scandal magically appears. And today, we're breaking down the Dangote diesel controversy, but not the media version, the Africa First, truth-centered version. Because what you're about to hear is not just a story about fuel. It's a story about weaponized standards, disrupted profit networks, global energy insecurity, and Europe's panic when Africa stops buying and starts building. Dangote's refinery, right? The largest in Africa and the second largest single train refinery in the world exporting diesel, suddenly became not winter grade. 36 parts per million of sulfur, wrong region, and doesn't meet specs. And remember, if you want more Africa First stories the Western media often ignores, hit subscribe because we don't chase the headlines, we chase the truth behind them. Now, it's amazing how standards suddenly matter when Africa exports. But Europe had no problem sending Africa high sulfur diesel for 20 straight years. Now, Dangote didn't send bad diesel. He threatened $1 billion power structure and the backlash wrote itself because this isn't chemistry, this is geopolitics. Let's check it out.
From being the biggest importer of petroleum products in Africa, Nigeria is now arguably the biggest exporter of the same products on the continent. And it's all thanks to this man, Aliko Dangote. His 650,000 barrels per day petrochemical refinery in the Nigerian commercial city of Lagos is making the difference. And he's already planning to expand the capacity of the refinery to 1.4 million barrels per day in the next 3 years.
This expansion reflects our confidence in Nigeria's future, our belief in Africa's potential, and our commitment to building energy independence for our continent and the world.
The refinery says its current production level now exceeds the country's domestic demand and wants the government to stop all imports of petroleum products.
Without this refinery, you would have ended up buying dollar at a ridiculous rate. So it is a major gain. You wouldn't have seen the dollar rate, dropping, and also seeing our foreign reserves going up. And I can assure you, within the next 1 or 2 months, with the new policy of the government supporting the downstream, you see the dollar rate will actually improve a lot.
Indeed, local production from the refinery has significantly cut down Nigeria's fuel imports, thereby reducing demand for foreign exchange by petrol importers.
Now, here's what actually happened. So a diesel shipment from Dangote refinery reportedly made its way to Europe. Claims emerged instantly. It was said that it isn't winter grade, sulfur measured around 36 parts per million, and it's not compliant with EU's cold weather standards meant for warmer markets, right? Now, let's pause right there because winter grade diesel is designed for below freezing European climates. Africa doesn't need it. Africa doesn't use it, right? And Europe never required winter grade fuel when they were shipping the diesel into African ports. So the question becomes, why was Africa suddenly examined with a microscope Europe never applied to itself? And why now? At the exact moment Africa begins producing its own cleaner fuel, right? So let's stop pretending that Aliko Dangote misunderstood, winter grade diesel, because Europe still imports diesel from India, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, none of which use European winter grade standards internally. So why was this African refinery singled out? Why this shipment, the timing, and the narrative? So the public's being told the refinery made a mistake or Africa can't meet advanced standards. Dangote isn't ready. So this story seems engineered for humiliation. The deeper reality here is that Europe lost Russian diesel after the war, right? They lost 500,000 barrels per day of supply. And Europe is now desperate, exposed, and scrambling for alternatives. A sovereign African supplier they can't manipulate is a geopolitical threat. And standards are often used as tools of power. So if this was about purity, specifically India, Qatar, Saudi Arabia would face the same scrutiny, but they don't. So this pressure is not about the environment. It's about leverage and preserving the old export hierarchy. Because Dangote disrupts multiple profit networks at once. You have to think about who loses, right? So European refiners who've exported low-grade diesel to Africa, traders and brokers losing billions, middlemen who lived off of fuel dependency, political actors who fear a sovereign Nigeria. So again, this isn't about sulfur, it's about control and competition. So this means a few things for African identity, right? If Africa allows foreign regulators to redefine the rules whenever we become competitive, Africa stays trapped in approval cycles, dependency, gatekeeping, inferiority narratives, right? And Dangote again threatens that cycle. So Dangote destroys a 30-year dependency pattern. So for decades, dirty European diesel flowed into Africa. Now Africa makes cleaner fuel at home, so someone loses money, right? And a lot of it. So people don't sabotage weakness, they sabotage independence. So Nigeria's refinery threatens global influence structures. If Nigeria supplies ECOWAS and Central Africa, European imports drop, leverage drops, dependency drops. So this is, again, not business. This is geopolitical reordering. So standards become a chokehold. So Europe controls classifications like ULSD, winter grade, CFPP thresholds. Fail their specs, right? You lose access. But those specs were designed for European climates, not Africa. So this is the hidden game. They use European standards to regulate African power, and standards matter deeply, right? Until Europe needs, cheap heating oil in December, they suddenly, everywhere's diesel is acceptable at that point, right? So the backlash was too fast to be organic. Narratives formed before the testing even finished. So this wasn't regulation. This was message warfare. So if Africa can't export, Africa buys, and that's the trap, right? So block Africa's refinery, Africa returns to imports, and Europe resumes the dump. And that's why damaging Dangote's early programming is strategic, right? So what's next here? Africa must create regional diesel standards based on African climate, African engines, African mobility, not European winners, right? So south to south, diesel trade must scale significantly. Nigeria supplying, right? So Ghana, Benin, Togo, Senegal, Kenya, Ethiopia, Cameroon is the end game. So Dangote becomes Africa's pivot, once Africans buy African fuel, foreign gatekeeping collapses. And believe me, pushback will continue because he succeeded, not because he failed. So possible future headlines that we'll see are collaborations between different regional blocs. Africa cuts fuel imports by a significant amount. Nigeria becomes central diesel supplier for West and Central Africa and the likes. So Africa doesn't rise by asking permission. Africa rises by building and refusing to let gatekeepers weaponize the rules. So again, Dangote didn't ship the wrong diesel. He simply disrupted the wrong dependency cycle. So, mashallah, that's your African insight for today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because I'm Mr.EmpowerTV. We don't chase the headlines, we chase the truth behind them. This is Mr. Empower, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.